So, Rob G., you're going to give us some numbers. Mm-hmm. Brock Purdy, the first 3 quarters. I mean, if you're a 49ers fan and Rich Davis from Covino Rich, he was having a heart attack. He's a big 49ers fan. And Rich Davis said he was pacing like a mountain lion. He was just sick because it looked like the 49ers were in trouble, like the Packers. If they're kicking and missing a couple kicks, right? Didn't he miss 2?
Yeah. He did. Was it 2?
Right? Didn't he miss one earlier in the game, and then he missed I thought he missed 2. But anyway, they could have won that game.
Yeah.
They really could have won that game, but Brock Purdy came up big at the end, obviously, and got the touchdown that they needed. They won the game. But his numbers, Rob G., you got them, were uneven.
Absolutely. Rob, this was the game that every Brock Purdy fan and hater lived for. Because if you don't like Brock Purdy, you saw something to validate your reasoning.
You were like, see, I told you.
If you love Brock Purdy, you saw something to validate why you love him, right?
Yeah.
Before that final game-winning drive, Brock Purdy was 17 of 32, 53% from passing.
17 of 32. That is not a good day at the office.
No.
205 yards, 1 touchdown. He had no picks, but at least 2 passes that they documented. It could have been more. At least 2 were deemed dropped interceptions.
They were dropped.
And 1 would have been a touchdown.
1 would have been a pick six, hit him right in the chest. That's the worst place they had a defender.
Yeah.
Right
Kerry, when you see that, don't you go like, how did you? It was like the one that Matthew Stafford got away with the Rams. Mm-hmm. Right, with the 49. Like, that was
Jaquiski Tartt is out of the NFL because he dropped the interception.
That was a game-losing pick.
Well, the thing that happens...
Remember that? It was right there.
The thing that happens with a lot of those quarterbacks where you're game planning and you probably have your first 10 scripted, you'll see it in practice with the scout team and it looks one way and it looks like it's going to be open all the time. But you have guys that are actually human beings that are playing a position that's going to move a little bit in disguise in the game. He threw that, and he was predestined to throw it. Should have been a pick six, bad throw. But you have to have instincts as a quarterback and instincts as a player in the NFL and be able to move around some of those things that aren't ideal. Right. And he didn't.
He didn't.
Yeah.
But he did finish strong, guys, because on that last drive, the game-winning touchdown drive, Brock Purdy, 6 of 7, 47 yards. The only incompletion was a drop by George Kittle. He also rushed twice for 11 yards, one of them picking up the first down that directly led to Christian McCaffrey's game-winning touchdown drive. So you saw all sides of Brock Purdy yesterday. Mm-hmm.
All right, but he got it done. And now I ask you, Kerry Rhodes, are you a believer in Brock Purdy now? Did he show you something that, you know, people are saying, because I still say that if the 49ers don't get to the Super Bowl or don't win it, it's going to be on Brock Purdy no matter what, because they've been to the Super Bowl without him.
Yes.
And all those players and that coach, they all been there. So that he's the new piece.
He has to get them to the championship game for sure. He can't lose this round.
If he loses to the Lions, they might run him out of San Francisco.
Stop it, Rob. I know. There you go again. No, you know what, though? I believe in him after that game. Even though it was a bad game, bad performance for 3.5 quarters. What makes postseason quarterbacks have that lure, have that lasting impact on your team and your franchise? It's being able to have that big final drive that, you know, even if things aren't going well during that game, if my quarterback has the ball last, can he make us win? Can he make us a play to get us down there for a game-winning drive? He showed that. He showed through adversity that he still can show up and get the job done. So, I mean, I'm not completely sold on it being a terrible performance. It wasn't Purdy.
Wasn't Purdy,
but he
very
got it
nice.
done.
It wasn't Purdy.
But he got it done.
Yeah, but do you have any reservations? Because that offense was not impressive for 3 quarters, and the Packers had a real chance to win that game.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and the Packers, I saw a stat. They've given up so many playoff games where they led with 5 minutes to go. It's like 4 or 5 games. Like you always talk about, I can't believe Aaron Rodgers didn't. There were 4 or 5 games where if the defense could have got a stop, he was going to the Super Bowl. It happened. It happened to Seattle the next year against the Cardinals.
Yep.
He didn't even touch the ball, I don't think, if you remember that, right? In that game against the Cardinals, they got the ball first. They drove down. He didn't even get the ball. And I think in 4 or 5 of Aaron Rodgers' playoff losses, the defense gave up 40 points. Like you can't win playoff games like that.
Yeah, it was a lot of failed Aaron Rodgers moments were because of the defense for sure. But this one, I mean, talking about San Fran and just how, talk about being a complete team, we thought that was them, and we thought that Purdy was just, being carried by the talent that they have.
Because there's so much talent.
So much talent.
Right.
But he's shown up, and he's done well enough for me to say the kid can play. But again, adversity strikes for everybody. He had adversity in this game. Wasn't pretty. He got the job done when it counted. So I'm not scared of him yet, but he needs to prove it this round to get to the next round to really cement my love for him.
I'll say this. I think San Francisco 49er fans are shaking in their boots.
You think so?
Only because that game against the Packers shouldn't have been that close. They shouldn't have needed a game-winning drive to beat the Packers. The Packers were 9-8. Let's just be honest.
Right.
And I know they blew out Dallas, and I wonder, really, was that the Packers or how bad Dallas was in that game? Because we saw the same exact thing. Was it the Browns or was it the Texans? Because all of a sudden, when the Texans played the big boys, if you're a fan of the 49ers and you saw what the Ravens did compared to what your team did, you don't feel as good. Do you know what I mean?
Not at this moment, yeah.
Those are the 2 number 1 seeds, and those are the 2 best teams in the league and all that. And one team put the hammer down on their opponent, and you needed a touchdown. Not even a field. You needed a touchdown to beat the Packers at home.
Yeah. No, that's cause for concern for sure. But I think we already know, seeing those 2 teams head-to-head, that San Francisco's a tier down from Baltimore.
I agree.
So,
I don't think going into that Monday was like Christmas night.
Right.
I don't think going in we thought that.
We
did not. Because I thought this is kind of a scheduled loss for Baltimore. Flying cross country, Christmas night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we plan on Christmas and all the way in San Francisco from the East Coast. Like, there's a lot of things that play into it, Kerry. You know, you've done travel, and there's certain games and places where it just makes it harder to win.
It's hard. Yeah, I mean, going into that game, I still thought it would be a close game. I know how connected and how determined Baltimore is to prove people wrong right now. And so, at this point where they are, I just think their chip is a little bit bigger than San Francisco's right now. And I think that showed for them in that game this past weekend, where San Francisco, they ran into a buzzsaw in Green Bay that's really confident, but also just the style of play that Green Bay went into that game with made it difficult for San Fran.
See, I think, and going forward for Brock Purdy, it's not fair, but it is what he has to play under.
Oh, yeah.
Is that people will always question until he actually gets them to the Super Bowl or wins the Super Bowl. There'll always be questions.
And we talk about that part of it for San Fran with so much history and so much lore of that franchise, right? You go back all the way to the 90s, right? And you talk about Steve Young.
He had to do it too.
He had to prove it. As much as we already knew he was good.
Joe Montana was 4-0.
Exactly.
In the Super Bowl.
And he couldn't get past Dallas and Green Bay at that time. But he beat Dallas, beat Green Bay, took the monkey off his back, and won the Super Bowl. So we got to give him a chance.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. And the other thing, too, is with Brock Purdy is, I think this was good, the comeback ability for him, because everybody was basically, he's a front-running quarterback. He always, you're up by 2 touchdowns. Yeah, it's easy. You know what I mean, to play under those circumstances. But
right.
Can you come back when you really need it? And he got that in this first one, and this playoff run.
And not just him, his head coach as well.
Yeah, he's
had records in
big games. My God,
yeah.
And I mean, Shanahan at some point got to win a big game too.
Yes, he does,
because he choked down that Super Bowl. Like, I still to this day can never get over that game. Julio Jones made an unbelievable. Do you remember Julio Jones made an unbelievable catch? Third down, set up a 1st and goal at the 22, and nobody will ever remember that play and that situation because they didn't run the ball. They were already in field goal range. All they had to do was run the ball 3 straight times, eat up the clock, the entire play clock, kick a field goal, you're up by 11, give the ball back to Brady. You can't lose. And then somehow they didn't win that game.
I know.
It doesn't even make any sense.
No, it was a sad moment for Falcons fans universally. I mean, they talk about that still to this day, and
it doesn't even make sense. Trust me. If I were the Falcons fan, I would have kicked the TV set.
I wouldn't even hire Belichick because I'd be so upset about that. So.
Man, that would be sick. All right.